Thanks for having us. How's it going?
How are you doing?
We were out to go to Dunsany Castle.
Dunsany Castle.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. I'll jump in the back. Cheers. Oh, hello, mate. Oh, I didn't see that. No, you're not coming in. Beavis, butthead. Shh. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're well. It feels like a long time since I've made a video like this. Welcome to Ireland. We are at Dunsany Castle.
Hold my mind. Leave your sign here. Show the
We've got a little gang here today. This beautiful site for 10 years has just been given room to breathe. And today, for the first time, we are going to be taking soil samples from across this whole land to see what impact has happened on biodiversity and on carbon compared to the other fields that are still being agriculturally tilled and sprayed. We're basically going to find out whether rewilding, simple rewilding, actually works.
what defines me.
So one thing you're going to notice at Dunsany, I don't do things the orthodox way. I'm a contrarian. So dead trees, I love them. They're part of the landscape. A healthy forest can be defined by how many dead trees there are. The circle of life is a circle. You have to be born, you have to grow, you have to fruit, you've got to mature, and then you've got to die. And then most importantly, you've got to rot. If you don't rot, you're breaking the circle. Don't mess with the circle and you won't have any problems. We always mess with the circle, so everything's a problem.
Sounds like the governor of nature, isn't it?
I prefer to do small additions to nature, not do massive controls. I don't like using machines. I like very non-invasive things. I like nature to do the work and me just to put a little bow on it. So I like to plant the odd tree. 50% of what falls in Dunsany will stay on the ground forever. We have a diverse society. We should have a diverse forestry. What we need is the right trees. So we're evolving the landscape. When I did this, I always had an idea that if you give nature enough time, it'll adjust. So I wasn't very keen on controlling things. For the first few years, farmers said you have to spray, you have to do all this stuff, and I sort of resisted. Although I gotta say, I thought they were right for a while. And so I tried to do it by hand at first, and then I gave up. And after several years, what I started noticing is it started to stop. And instead I started seeing the grass was taking over, and other things were taking over. And now this field, which used to be completely yellow with ragwort, looked like a rapeseed field. I thought the council was gonna come and find me. The whole thing has stopped. And now I see hardly any ragwort here. When you see a lot of one thing, it's usually a symptom of something wrong. It's like when you have something wrong with your body, you'll get a headache. It's not necessarily something wrong with your head. If you look at this field, you will largely see very little tree regeneration naturally occurring. Yet the two fields at the back, you will see a massive amount of tree regeneration. So the idea that perhaps this will one day become a forest, I don't believe. There's almost no encroachment of the forest. So I think this will be like those places that you see in Mongolia, where it'll stay a grassland forever. But the other two fields will absolutely turn into forest. We're allowing areas to flood. We're allowing things, because water brings life, and that creates the biodiversity that we're all after. So I've tried to allow as much water to last. Most people who do rewilding, they do it in Scotland up a mountain. You know, try and do it to the prime Irish agricultural land, you have to be crazy. They got the right guy. 200 acres of grasslands here. Let's go look at another one.
Hold the line. Unrequited. Come on. Set up fair. Funny. Body's calling.
Come on, buddy, you can keep up. You can keep up. Hey, pal. Hey, buddy. Come on, let's go. Let's go. So I came here 2 months ago to do a recce with Chloe. We connected with Randall, heard about his amazing story, wanted to check it out.
Notice this ecological region has suddenly changed compared to that shorter.
That's Carolina from Nature Metrics, who we're doing all the biodiversity sampling with. This is Louise, who's got a farm and been doing some of the carbon sampling. This is Andy, who's been working with me, Andy's dad, and big man Randall. Oh, and Matthew. And Chow. We only walk on the designated path to reduce the disturbance to the land. It's getting a bit deeper, guys. So, of the meadowlands, the grasslands that we're going to be measuring today, they're in two parts. One, the bit we've seen, which is where the animals were grazing, and now we're walking to the other part, which was being tilled for how long, Randall?
Well over 20 years.
So we're going to see the difference between the tilled and grazed meadowlands with a decade of room to breathe.
Catch my head before the ground.
We're going deeper underground.
All the light.
Like it's straight out of Oregon or California or something. Can you just explain tillage as well for anybody that's listening that had never heard the word?
Tillage is when they grow crops. They use monoculture. They till the land with a big machine. They rip it open.
Yeah.
Drop seeds in, lots of chemicals, fertilizers, all that kind of stuff. You get your corn and your wheat from that, and Bob's your uncle. The only problem is with that is they spray a hell of a lot of chemicals on that.
Sure.
Now, if you look around, what we're noticing, first thing you're starting to see, saplings. We haven't seen saplings since we walked in here. You got birch. Birch is an interesting tree because birch is a starter species. Birch, hawthorn, these are the initial species that grow very fast, they're very resilient. And what you're going to notice here, that there's a lot of stuff. And you will notice that the majority of the trees are growing within the rushes. If you look at grass, nothing grows through that. But if you notice this, there's lots of gaps. Firstly, lots of areas for things to hide in, but also it allows light to the ground, which will allow saplings to grow. Now, let me find you an example of what I'm talking about.
So this is the one you think will become a forest?
It's definitely going to become a forest. Look at all these saplings. Right there, look, right within the rushes. Boom, another birch. There's another one right over here.
Boom.
There's another one over here.
And there's an oak right there.
Yeah? Where's the oak?
There's an
Oh yeah! Look at that mini little oak tree.
You can almost see lines. Do you see the lines?
Yeah.
Look across it?
Yeah.
Those are the old tractor lines.
Okay, yeah.
Because the areas that you're stepping in are actually the trails of the tractor. I never changed anything. I didn't put grass, I didn't roll it,
Yeah.
I didn't harrow it. This is what happens if you completely leave it. So it still has some of the shape, but the ironic thing is you're starting to get briars. Briars are fantastic because they absorb a lot of carbon from the air.
What's a briar?
Briar is the stuff that you get your blackberries from.
Ah.
This is it. Everybody hates these.
Yeah.
They're spiky. But bramble is another term for them.
bush.
What's interesting about bramble, apart from the fact that they are one of the best things for the ecosystem, they are also a starter species because the brambles are created, they create food for the birds, but they also protect the saplings from the deer. You know, we spend a lot of time and carbon making these like plastic tubes that we plant trees in. But this is what nature does. Nature does the same thing. Hawthorn, the brambles, the thistles, this is how nature naturally protects the saplings. And that's what's important about this little species because we look at this as a weed, yet it gives food, it gives protection.
So it doesn't suffocate the little
Absolutely
little
not.
birch saplings? They
Absolutely
can
not. They, as you can see, they're going fine.
And when those saplings come, you do nothing to help them. There's no fertilizer, no feed.
Nothing. I don't cut them. I don't trim them. If they grow, they grow. The farmers are like, that f***ing idiot is destroying prime agricultural land. I'll do it for no money as well because I see this and I see this is the beginning of something. It's the we plant the seeds today so the generation beyond can have trees. And this is the way we're doing it. This field behaves differently than the first one. Each field has its unique profile, and yet we've done the same thing. We have done nothing different. And this is where this project is going to be very interesting because we're starting to know about nature now. The more we start to have the data, the more we start to see what's happening here that's not happening here and why.
Sounds like there's 3 major areas, so that's
So
pretty
I
handy.
think here would be a very important area to do. That's all farming there.
Okay.
And on the other side of this is all farming. So
Right,
it's interesting.
it's farming and farming. Yeah, but this is different. Interesting. Guided tour is over, and now Carolina is going to explain some stuff to us about what's going to happen, how Naturemetrics works, and all of that jazz.
So Naturemetrics aims to measure biodiversity. Our technology revolves around eDNA, or environmental DNA. Species in our environments, water, air, soils, plants, they shed their feces, their urine, saliva. It has a genetic sequence that has pretty much a footprint. So just how people have individual faces and everyone looks unique, The genetic sequence of the species is unique, and it gives you an idea of everything that's living in it. And it will also uncover species that you would otherwise not see, cryptic things, things that live at night. I like to compare the microbiome in the world to like the internet. So we're all interconnected via, Wi-Fi and satellite, and just how there's like a network in the soil and in the environment. That network is fungal and microbiological communities, and they underpin the health of soil. So when soil is healthy, it feeds the roots. When roots are healthy, it feeds the plants. When plants are healthy, it filters water. That attracts species, which then eat the fruits, eat the seeds, eat the leaves, and then you have a whole habitat. But at the very base of it is, the fungal and microbiological communities. Biodiversity just means all the different interaction of living things, organic living things that interact with one another, that give something or take something. And usually it's a two-way street. They give and take. The more variability, the more variety, the more different families, essentially a multicultural thing of the soil, the better it is. If you have soil that's destroyed, you'll usually have one dominant one, because that's really one species that's able to thrive, the rest have died. If you have high variability in the soil, for instance with fungal and bacterial communities, that will change your carbon structure, it will change your water structure, it will allow porosity.
What's that?
Porosity is when you have spaces between your soil. It gets compacted, it gets pressed in. And roots like room to move. Bacteria likes room to move. You have soil, water, plant. You have the continuum. So when you have all three, you have a solid base for life.
So we want more like cake than brownie in the soil.
Yeah,
we want
much.
that kind of...
Cake, that's a good one. All the brownies can have that.
Brownie? I mean, everyone loves a brownie.
Everyone loves a brownie. So when you have a highly biodiverse microbiome, so when I say microbiome, I mean fungal, bacterial, algal species, things like that. They set the stage, which then allow room, porosity, water to come in. Then what happens is earthworms will come in, and earthworms are hugely important for the soil. And what that does is it creates fertility, nutrient cycling.
Could you say that the bacterial and fungal networks act as scaffolding that sort of holds the soil in a certain structure that allows the next stages to occur?
If you have highly compacted soil and you inoculate, as in you inject bacteria or fungus into it, but it's too compacted, the fungus is going to die, because the fungus also needs a certain amount of air. It also needs a certain amount of water. It needs a certain temperature. It needs ground cover. So it's like all the different... It's more like a puzzle. You need to set the whole scene together.
Sufficient conditions in the first place.
Yeah.
So why then, out of all the different pieces of the puzzle, is it the bacteria and the fungal stuff that we're taking the measurements for?
Because on a fundamental level, they will give you an indication of health. Because if they're healthy, the rest is healthy.
I see.
As many species as possible is what we're going for. Hopefully that's the indication of health. And are they there?
Yes.
What you do is with one pit, we're creating a W shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 soil samples. So if this is your ecological region, the 5 subsamples will represent an even distribution of the potential variability of the soils.
We sat on the grass here. This whole section behaved like one section. We went then to the back of the castle. This was the one that's becoming forest, and this was the part that's the paddock. Okay. And then our fourth comparison is what was just over the road, which was the tilled farm. Yeah. Lovely handwriting for everyone to see.
What is your left hand?
Well, I am left-handed, unfortunately.
Well, then you have no excuse. We're going to compare the sites between themselves, so compare the reforested paddock and the meadow to each other, as well as each to the tilled. So the reforested compared to the tilled, the paddock compared to the tilled.
And then the extra 2 layers we're going to be doing on from that is seeing the correlation between the biodiversity samples that we do with Carolina and the carbon samples that we do through NRM. And we'll be doing them in exactly the same places on those Ws. And then the final comparison we'll be making is the 22 results, what we're doing right now, and then in a year's time, the 2023 results. So hopefully we'll see from the first results that Carolina's talking about that there is a difference on a DNA level between wilding and tilling. And then hopefully there'll be such a difference that we think we'll continue to see incremental improvements year on year in a way that we can help get other companies to support, and that's where it becomes something that we can sell to businesses to help them manage their relationship with nature. We're going to have some lunch and we're going to get out there and see what happens. That is one hell of a stairway. Oh goodness gracious, I should have put my shoes on. Look at this, wowee.
Vegetarian.
Oh, thank you so much. This is wonderful.
So let me serve everybody. Come to a vegan household, or as they like to call me, the vegan death metal baron.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely splendiferous. Amazing to have Northern Ireland's biggest food producer, to have the oldest family in Ireland, to have biodiversity and carbon experts trying to pull it all together. It's a real joy. I've got to figure out how to get out this door there. I will check. What 3 words? Yeah, I've got 4G. Oh yeah.
Soil sampler app.
Soil sampler app. And so which one are we doing? We're gonna
This one here, the tilt.
So we're going into the left there.
Yeah. So pretty much straight ahead.
Okay.
We've gone next door to one of the tenant farmers' fields, and we're going to measure the baseline of what would be happening if nothing had changed on the rest of the parkland. We're on a track, so we're not disturbing the crops. Scalpel. So that's the disinfected auger.
You drop a point in the location and grab the 3 words.
I'll do that. We are on the spot. Rational flamingo legislation.
That's going though. I might need a bigger person with some weight here.
Randall's ready.
Do you mind just... Yeah, do your best.
Okay.
Like it was beating for you. You kept us on it, and the water running. When I lost my hope, out on my own, so we fell asleep in the back of the garden, and we never let go. No, never let go.
So that is the first soil core.
Excuse me? Need some space for my operation?
Filming horizontally whilst I give this a go.
No problem.
Yeah, I got a little cut going on. This auger's quite sharp on the edges.
One of these? Nope.
Clusters.
Right. Oh, look at this first aid kit. Awesome.
Yeah, you know how dangerous it is in my job?
Forgive me, farmer.
Yeah.
For they did not know.
Well,
Oh,
vegan.
the only thing I'm used to is like this is a champagne bottle. Pop. So this is our nature metric sample. 2 samples down, 3 to go in this W. We think we'll do 2 fields, not 4, but that'll give us the baseline. Getting into it now, going beyond the story into the data. Oh, this is a bit easier. Flipping heck.
That looks good. It's a motorway next.
Yeah.
You take me to a star, you see me.
Got it? Oh yeah, solid. Oh, that's clever. She's evolved the technique.
End of the night, you saw it come.
All we need is Danny DeVito to be my co-star. For a wacky 80s adventure.
Now we're going to push out all the air, get that all out, seal it nice and tight, get this frozen as soon as possible, and then at the lab they're going to mix it all up nice.
So this field that we're in, the rewilded one, is just the other side of these trees. So that's why this is so good to do both of them. I'm going to show you now with the drone.
Every time I think that all the walls are gonna fall apart, you breathe me, believe me. Every time I think that it's the end, you take me to a start.
You really notice the difference coming in here after being in the uniformed farmland.
It's an indication of good soil, yo.
I
I mean, he's completely squished, but he's like, I hate you, Ednad.
He's been Edna'd. Edna's got him. That's a good one. YouTube will like that one. That's YouTube comedy, that is. Edna's got him. How you getting on with the NRM one, Andy?
Loving it.
Loving it.
Oh my gosh. This is the problem in geography, they don't connect this stuff to the marketplace.
No.
That would have got me interested. It's like carving up a turkey.
He's gone Ray Mears.
Done that. Putting it in the microwave.
This is sample 5 in the paddock. So that is the end of this first experiment. Tomorrow or a few days later, we'll do the second patch. But what we've got, the agricultural field just behind us versus the 8 years of rewilding. And we'll find out the results. To be continued. I'm sure we'll be back very soon at Dunsany. Massive thanks to Randall for getting amongst it all. Randall, thanks.
Welcome.
And a massive thanks to this gang for being legends. Louise getting stuck in, bringing an auger. Carolina teaching us the ways of biodiversity. Andy getting us amongst it, bringing his dad. Matthew filming the whole thing. Randall for letting us in. Let's connect the dots up and make it work. What's the old YouTube then, Matthew?
Let me check.
Ah! It's definitely going to be in the description. I haven't seen anything yet because I only just found out about it.
Just Matthew Irvine.
Matthew Irvine.
Matthew Irvine.
IRVINE.
Yep. My passion is storytelling, so I've got some short films that I make, kind of passion projects.
Yeah.
And kind of some daily vlogs and some. I run a production company, so I'm doing some like behind the scenes of films and stuff.
So people can check it out and they can hire you if they
Yeah.
want to take you on random adventures like this to weird spaces.
Myself or my company, yeah.
Thank you, Dira, Department for Agriculture, for lending us your auger. That was very helpful for the NRM.
Lovely.
Very good. Okay. Here you go. So we're going straight to the freezer. So this is, we look like drug dealers, but nature dealers. Okay, cool. Iced up, bagged up to nature metrics.
Yeah.
Posty man, be nice. We've got the carbon samples in here from both fields, from the paddock and from the tillage farm. The ice packs. Give it the old mush. It goes in like that. Okay, we're done.